Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon if you're from somewhere other than the West Coast or Hawaii or Alaska. I'm going to give everyone just another minute or two to join us, and then we'll go ahead and get started. If somebody can give me a thumbs up if they can actually see my screen, because Teams doesn't show me what it's sharing. All right, awesome. Thank you. All right, I think that's enough sitting around waiting. So let's go ahead and get started. So thank you all for coming. Again, good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are. Appreciate you coming to my PASS Summit 2024 attendee briefing. So if you've been to PASS in the past, you might have seen one of my webinars that I've done in the past, welcoming the new attendees and stuff like that. So this is along that same vein, except totally different because we're in a totally different part of the convention center than the conference has ever been in before, because we're in a new section. So I am Denny Cherry. I am the CEO and Principal Consultant for Denny Cherry and Associates Consulting. I am based out of Southern California, so it is a lovely, I'm trying to look at my Alexa, it is a lovely 76 degrees outside and sunny and blue skies like it always is, because that's what we pay for here in Southern California. So a little bit of housekeeping. You should see a Q&A button on your Teams app. Feel free to click that and ask questions. I will be keeping an eye on that as questions come in. If we don't get any during, that's fine, but feel free to ask questions during the session. I do have a slide at the end and a couple minutes at the end so that we can take care of any questions that do come up that anybody has. So, without any further ado, if my keyboard would cooperate, there we go. So, the things I want to cover today: how to get from SeaTac to downtown Seattle, where the actual convention center is. Unlike the airport name suggests, they are not actually right nearby. How to get around the convention center and where things are. Again, if you've been to the convention center in the past, things are completely different. Everything you know is useless because we're not in the same part of the convention center that we've always been in. So if you're getting to Seattle a day or two early, or if you're staying for the weekend after the conference, or if you haven't booked your flight yet, then that's an option. There are definitely a lot of things to do in Seattle that you can check out. I've got some of them listed on the slide here. There are tons of other things to do as well. Some places to eat in Seattle, because Seattle has fantastic food options and fantastic drink options. And like I said, we'll have some time for questions at the end. So first section here is how do I get from SeaTac, from the airport, to Seattle? And there are lots of options. The cheapest option is actually going to be the light rail. It goes all the way to the airport and it goes all the way to downtown. So it'll cost you a whopping $3 to get out there. That is definitely the cheapest option. An Uber and Lyft is usually going to cost you about 80 to $100 to use Uber or Lyft to get out there, and that's going to be all based on capacity. So, obviously, surge pricing is going to impact that pricing. A taxi or van will cost you more, but we'll be able to hold more people, so that you can, split that cost and have it not be quite as expensive. The one thing I can say about Seattle, unless you plan on going to the outskirts or the burbs every day, which you're not doing because you're going to a conference in downtown, do not bother renting a car. Parking at any of the hotels is going to be super expensive, and the car is basically going to sit there. I believe parking is 30 or $40 a day at any of the hotels. It doesn't matter which one you're staying at. And so on top of the cost of renting the car, you've got to pay that. So you're basically paying $100 a day to have a car parked that you're going to take back and forth to the airport. If you do need a car, so maybe you're going to go sightseeing and you want a car for the weekend, there are rental car places in town that you can walk to, rent a car, excuse me, go sightseeing, and then simply return the car that night, or keep it for the one night and pay the one night's parking at the hotel versus paying for it for the entire week. So some things to note about the light rail. If you do decide to take the light rail from the airport to downtown, it does not run all night. So check the hours. I don't know what the current hours are for the light rail, but I know it does not run all night. To get to the light rail, exit baggage claim, so obviously pick up your bags. Exit baggage claim up the escalator, back up to level 2. That's going to let you walk over the sky bridge to the parking structure. There'll be a bunch of signs that say rideshare apps, they say rideshare apps and they say light rail. So follow those. When you get into the parking structure, no matter where you are in the structure, turn left and just keep walking. Walk all the way to the end. Basically follow the signs and just keep hoofing it all the way to the end. So if you're flying Delta, if you're flying United, you're going to come out relatively close to it. If you're flying Alaska, I believe you're going to end up on the other side of the airport, so you're going to have a longer walk through the terminal. So when you're taking the light rail, take it all the way to the Westlake exit. That's going to be Westlake Mall on Pike Street. And that's going to get you the closest exit for the light rail that there is to the hotels and to the convention center. Once that drops you off, it's on Pine, not Pike. So once that drops you off, it's going to be a short walk up to either 6th, 7th, or 8th, which is going to be where the bulk of the hotels are. So for example, the Sheraton is going to be one block up, which is 6th, and it's going to be one block over. I'm going to map of that to show you where it is. And then, for example, the Hilton, which is another hotel I've stayed at in the past, that's going to be one block past the Sheraton. The Hyatts are all going to be up on 8th, so you're going to have to go one additional block, or two additional blocks rather, to get to like Hyatt at Elevate or the Hyatt or the full-on Hyatt. So it's, there's obviously lots of options, and it's a relatively easy walk. It is a little bit uphill, which you obviously cannot see from the map. My map is backwards. Sorry, I made the map for going back to the light rail rather than from the light rail. So the light rail station is this B section here. I don't grab my laser pointer. So it can be all fancy. There we go. Laser pointer. So there's the light rail station. It's Westlake Mall. This is Pike Street. This is Pine. Pike is one block over. This is the Sheraton over here. So there's doors to the Sheraton literally right here. The main entrance is down here where the A is. The Hilton is literally further down this road here. All the Hyatts are going to be continue basically up Pine, and then they're going to be, 7th is going to be right here, and then 8th is going to be one more block past that. All in all, relatively easy to get to, relatively easy to walk, and again, I think it's about $3. So how do we get around the convention center itself? Because obviously that's where the conference is going to be, so that's where we're going to spend the bulk of our times. So the past summit is in what's called the Summit Building. This is going to be the newest addition to the SCC that they've purchased and they've opened up. So there are two entrances to the building that we're going to be in. So again, if you're used to going to Pass, that's on Pike and 7th. That's going to be where the entrance has been in the past. So now we're going to go all the way up to 9th, and the entrances are going to be either on Pine or on Olive. So basically, Pike Street is where the Convention Center Arch used to be, or is. It's still there. So one block over is Pine. One block further over is going to be Olive. So that's kind of how things are going to get laid out. So there's two entrances, one on Olive in 9th and one on Pine in 9th. Registration is going to be on the ground floor. It's going to be between those two entrances. So it doesn't matter which door you go into, you will see the registration literally right in front of you. If you do have a rental car, so maybe you live in the area or you're relatively close and you're going to be driving, or you're in a hotel further away and you want to drive to the convention center, totally fine. There is paid parking. The entrance for that is on Bourne Avenue, and there's another entrance on Olive Avenue. So those are on the further away from the water side of the convention center. So Seattle, everything's based around where you are in relation to the water to Puget Sound. So this is going to be further away from the water, is going to be where the parking is, up the hill basically. So once you're inside the actual building, on the first floor, on the ground floor, we're going to have registration. The second floor is going to be the exhibit hall and the AWS dining hall. That's where your lunches are going to be served, where our lunches are going to be served. I'm going to be there too. So all the exhibitors, the show floor, that's going to be there on 2, along with the lunch area. Upstairs on the third floor is going to be the community zone. That's where a lot of people are going to be hanging out for most of the conference. And then a lot of the session rooms are also going to be on the third floor. All your pre-cons, if you're doing a pre-con Monday or Tuesday, those are all going to be on the third floor. There are no pre-cons on the fourth floor. General sessions will also be held on the third floor. I believe my session's on the third floor, which makes my life very easy because I'll probably be in the community zone for most of the week, just hang out, and then I can run to my session room, give my talk, and then I can head back to the community zone, and I don't need to leave the floor. So up on the fourth floor, there's going to be more session rooms. If you've signed up for one of the sponsor breakfasts, those are going to be up on the fourth floor. Those are going to be depending on what day is going to be up there. If you're hunting for the prayer room, the speaker ready room, or the nursing room for women that need to nurse children, those are all going to be on the fourth floor. Redgate has set up to have all 3 of those available to us. Up on the 5th floor is going to be where any of the additional sponsored breakfasts are. The lunch, or any of the sponsored lunches are going to be, as well as the game night room and the Microsoft Keynote room. Those are all going to be up on 5 as well. So there are elevators and escalators on the Olive Ave and 9th and Pine and 9th corners of the convention center. So basically the 2 corners that are, I believe, facing towards the water, basically by the registration desk. That's going to be where the elevators and the escalators are. So elevators if you need them, escalators if you don't need the elevators. Those are going to be your fastest options to get up to all the other floors. You can use either bank of elevators and escalators to get to wherever you're going. All of them will go to all 5 floors. I have heard rumors that there will be a coffee cart in the community zone where you can purchase some gourmet espressos. I assume they'll also have things like lattes. If they are, they can just put a tap into my arm and just pour lattes into my arm. It'll be fine. So, some things to do in Seattle. So there are a lot of things to do in Seattle. So if this is your first trip to Seattle and you've got the spare time, I know spare time is a precious commodity, I would definitely recommend at least hitting up an attraction in Seattle. So there's the Museum of Pop Culture on Broad Street and 5th. You can take the monorail over to that entire complex for a relatively small amount of money. I think last I checked, it was only $3. Don't quote me on that, but I think it's still $3. Space Needle is also there, as is the Pacific Science Center. So those are all things that you can check out in that one spot. It's all in one big complex. The cool thing at the Pacific Science Center is they have an IMAX movie theater there. I think I saw Deadpool there. I've seen a couple of things there. It is the largest IMAX screen in Washington State, the largest movie screen in Washington State. And last I checked, I want to say it was the 2nd or 3rd largest IMAX screen either in America or in the world. I don't remember which one. But the screen is huge. Stadium seating. It's not reserve seating. So if you're going to go check out a flick, you do need to get there relatively early to get a good seat. That said, giant theater, giant screen. There pretty much aren't bad seats. The Seattle Aquarium's got a bunch of cool things. It's a relatively easy aquarium to get through. It is in Seattle, so everything's kind of smaller. So it's not going to take you that long. I figure give yourself a few hours if you want to go through the Seattle Aquarium. Seattle Art Museum is also worth taking a look at as well. The cross streets for all those are listed there. So one thing you'll notice is some of those things have an asterisk behind them, and that is because Pass has set up or Redgate rather, has set up a discount savings card with visitseattle.org. The slide later in the deck with the URL that I'll leave on the screen for a minute. I've got it in my notes, so I'm trying to copy and paste, and apparently I can't do that. Hang on, there's another place I can grab it from. Yeah, here I can grab it from. Yeah. So let me take a peek at the questions here real fast. Are there stairs? Let's see here. Are there stairs to get floors rather than waiting for the elevators? I believe there are stairs, but the escalator's probably going to be your best bet, Jason. Let's see here. Do you know when past 2024 app will be released? I do not know when the app is going to be released. I know the team at Redgate is working on it. The schedule is not finalized, which is probably why we haven't seen the app. I believe they're trying to get the schedule done within the next couple of weeks, but I'm not sure. Is there any express trains to or from the airport? That would be the light rail is going to be your best bet. It is not an express train. And there are no other express trains other than the one scheduled train. So I believe figure 75 to 90 minutes to get from the airport to the Westlake stop or vice versa. Then George asks, are the slides going to be available for download? Yes, I will go ahead and publish the slides. There will be a recording of this as well. That I will make available. I believe the plan is for Redgate to post the recording shortly after it's available. Basically, I'm going to send it to them as soon as Teams tells me it's available, and then they'll send it off. I did grab the URL. I threw it in chat, or threw it in Q&A rather. So you should hopefully be able to see that in the panel there. So some places to eat in Seattle. There are an absolute ton of them. So one thing to keep in mind is that Pass and Redgate is not going to have a breakfast served. However, there are sponsored breakfasts that you can register for by adding them to your calendar, and that will get you a comped breakfast at the actual conference itself. You do have to go listen to one of the vendors give their spiel, though. So it's a trade-off. Free food, listen to somebody run their mouth for an hour about how great their products are. That's the trade-off. That's the trade-off you're going to have. Friday is going to have the most options. The most vendors that are signed up for the breakfast sessions are registered or are signed up on Friday, so that will be the place to get the most food options available. There's going to be a hot buffet lunch daily, which has usually been pretty good. So one of the nice things about the conference being in the same place basically every year for the last 10 or 15 years, with few exceptions, is that the conference organizers have gotten pretty good at figuring out where the cost layout needs to be for food. So when you go to a convention center, you've got a massive list of food options from, food in a box to steak and lobster, and all the various price points in between. So it's a matter of finding out which price point is going to make the most sense so that you can have a decent meal without the food being garbage and without the food being too expensive that the conference loses money, or at least on the food. So the people that run the conference, a lot of them are the same people that ran the past conference. So because of that, they've got this down pretty well and have been able to find that nice sweet spot. So if you do miss lunch, there is a restaurant right there in the building, or it's right on the outside of the building, and that's Bombo. So that's going to give you at least an option to go get food. I believe their lunch is open till, I want to say 4. And then they close for like an hour and they reopen for dinner at like 6 or 5:30 or something. So there is at least a food option that's right there, or you can just binge on caffeine and pretend that's going to give you the calories that you need to go on for your day. When registering for the Past Summit, be sure to mention any dietary restrictions that you have. The conference does take those very seriously, as does the kitchen at the convention center. If you tell them about dietary restrictions, basically they will make you a special meal, put it on a plate, and put it off to the side for you so you can pick it up instead of having the buffet that the rest of us have, because there are food requirements and food restrictions out there that people have to deal with. And so the reality is that they deal with that, and they deal with that very, very well. So for lunch, I would typically recommend just staying at the convention center at SCC. The timing is going to be really tight to go anywhere. Seattle is a walkable city, but that does mean you have to walk there. So that's going to take time to get somewhere to actually go get, other lunch options. So I would typically recommend staying there just because you will burn a session or two going to get lunch, and that's not going to work out well for you. And you're there to see sessions and not get food options at lunch. So at breakfast, so there are a couple of options for breakfast. Unfortunately for me, most of the normal places I'd be recommending to you are no longer open. My favorite place to go was literally the crepe place right under the arch of the convention center called the Creperie Paris. It is unfortunately closed. I found this out yesterday. So one of the great places I do love going, I've been here a couple of times, I need to go again, I just haven't had a chance to. It's Lowell's Restaurant down at the Pike Place Marketplace. I believe it's if memory serves, it's a 2-story restaurant overlooking the water, so you can see the boats go through as you have breakfast. They've got a great set of pancakes and a lot of coffee. The Sheridan has a restaurant called Alder and Ash. Again, this is going to be right near the convention center, at least it's right next to the old convention center. I bring this up because that's where I'm staying, because I'm lazy and I'm always going to be at the same hotel. They also have a grab-and-go breakfast in Starbucks, as well as all the normal Starbucks stuff, because there's a Starbucks in the lobby. The Hilton or any of the Hyatts, these are all going to have your normal restaurant options available to you. If you're up for a little bit of walking, there's a special Starbucks called the Starbucks Reserve Rotisserie and Tasting Room. So this is not a normal Starbucks. Just so we're clear, I'm not recommending you go to a Starbucks. They're all over Seattle for obvious reasons. So this is their actual roastery, where they actually roast the beans there, as opposed to shipping them in. It's just up the street from the convention center. It's on Pike and Minor. I want to say it's like 2 or 3 blocks up from the convention center on Pike. So it's a little bit of a hike because it's up a hill, but you get to come back down the hill. There's also going to be monorail espresso on the lobby level of the convention center. It's going to be outside the building, but you're going to be able to grab a coffee there. If you want to come in, and they should have some breakfast options as well. They're not going to be fabulous, but they'll be, good breakfast options. So dinner. So dinners at Seattle is going to be where the conference really does it best, or where, not the conference per se, but the city itself. So there are a ton of great food options. Unfortunately, the pandemic did cause some of my favorites to close, but that's the way things work, unfortunately. So there is no reason to break the bank. There are obviously lots of high-end steakhouses, lots of high-end restaurants. There are also a lot of really, really good, less expensive options. So if you're on a budget, or if the company's giving you, thou shalt only spend $50 a day on food. There are lots of really good options and great ways to get food in Seattle. Seattle is especially known for their seafood, specifically salmon. The salmon comes in fresh daily. So if you are up for fish, I highly recommend getting salmon basically anywhere. If you're up for sushi, sushi in Seattle is fantastic because it's literally all brought in like that morning or the night before. It's not like normal where they buy it on Monday and then they use it for the week. So some places to go that are typically going to be under $50 a person. Don't hold me to this price point. The restaurants I'll try. So the first is going to be Wild Ginger. It's going to be an Asian restaurant on the corner of 3rd and Union. It's Asian fusion. It's really good. I've been there a few times. Second one is called Mamoon. It's a Middle Eastern restaurant on Pike and Melrose. I have not been here, but everything I read about it makes it look fantastic. So I need to get here at some point. You've also got Elliot's Oyster House. I have been here several times with my entire team, and the food here is really good. It's down on Pier 56, which is going to be on Seneca Street and Alaskan Way. So Alaskan Way is the road that rings the water. So Alaskan Way is the water, basically. It's the waterfront. So Seneca Street is the one that goes up and down. So Pier 56 is going to be where that is. Again, absolutely fantastic. I know at Elliot's you can make reservations on Open Table, and I highly recommend it because they do sell out, especially on Friday nights. Bamboo, like I said, just outside the convention center. It's going to be an Italian place, relatively inexpensive. When I was looking at the menu for all of these places, I want to say the entrees were all in the $20 to $30 range. So relatively reasonable prices. So if you want to spend unreasonable amounts of money, there are plenty of places to do that as well. The first being my favorite dumpling house on the planet, Din Tai Fung, which is going to be available for you at 6th and Pine. I've been to 6 or 7 Din Tai Fungs at this point, including Anaheim, La Jolla. The other one in Seattle, I have not been to this one yet. Bellevue, and I think 1 or 2 other ones. So again, it's on 6th and Pine. Din Tai Fung is super hard to get into. Make a reservation. Reservations are released about 30 days before the date that you want to dine. So I would highly recommend making a reservation. It's really hard to get in there. There's also the Capitol Grill, which is absolutely fantastic on 4th and University. This is going to be one of those $4 sign places, but the steaks are delicious. The Purple Cafe and Wine Bar, you can get out of here for less than $50. But most people don't because they usually end up getting a cocktail or two. That's on 4th and University. There is another Purple Cafe and Wine Bar over in Bellevue. So I am not crazy. There are 2 of them. And this is the Seattle one. I highly recommend it. The Metropolitan Grill is also really good. That's going to be down on 2nd and Marin. So relatively easy to get to. Again, not the cheapest food in the world, but it's going to be really good. And I have not gone to Japanese sushi. I want to say La Torres Cocina, but I might be wrong. So I have not been there yet. I have been to this place. I think it had a different name last time I went to it. The sushi is fantastic. I highly recommend this place. There's another place I saw that I was going to put on here, but I didn't, just because I hadn't been there and I didn't see great things about it online. So, drink options. There are tons of drink options in downtown Seattle. So there is a place called Zigzags. Highly recommend it. It's won a bunch of awards over the years. It's on the Pike Place Hill Climb between Western and Alaskan Way, so it's a bit of a hike, but they do have some great cocktails. It's definitely worth it. The Sheridan Lobby Bar is where a lot of people end up At least they have in the past, because again, we're typically a lot of the conference ends up staying at the Sheraton because it is so close to the convention center arch. We're not there this year, so there are less people at the Sheraton, but I assume there's going to be a decent number of people at the bar. They might be at the Hyatt at Olive 8 bar as well, or instead. I'm not really sure where people are going to end up, just because we're in a new location, so who knows where we're all gonna end up being. It is sort of a crapshoot as to where everybody's going to be going. The other option is the White Horse Tavern on Stewart Street and First Ave, so it's gonna be down the hill. Great drinks here as well. There are some private meetups that companies do have. It's just a matter of getting invited to them to make sure that you can actually go to them. So I know companies have run private parties in the past. I don't know what companies are doing them this year. The landscape is very different from what it was pre-pandemic as far as the SQL Server vendor market is concerned. So because of that, it's kind of up in the air as to who's going to be throwing parties. I know Century One used to throw a great party every year, but unfortunately they got bought by SolarWinds, so that's all going to be up in the air as to what's going on there. So like I mentioned, lots of people do end up at the Sheraton Lobby Bar to get that last nightcap energy to sit down and hang out and grab a beer. There is a very large bar in the Sheraton lobby. And it holds lots of people, and the service is halfway decent. It's a hotel bar. I mean, what are you gonna do? So if you see a conference speaker that you have seen their session or you've seen them present, and you'd like to talk to them, don't be shy. Go talk to them. I know as a conference speaker, one of the things I love doing in conferences is just talking to people. You can talk to them about anything. It can be something technical. It can be something you've seen them talking about on Twitter or on X. It can be something you've seen them talking about on Blue Sky or on Facebook. Or you can just go talk to them about their session and tell them that you really like their session. Speakers love talking to the attendees. That's one of the reasons why we all go to these conferences. It's not for the fantastic conference food, I promise you. It is to actually talk to the people that are going to be at the actual event and get to know them better. Some of my best friends I've met at the PASS conference. One of my really good friends, Andre from Europe, I met him for the first time at either PASS or the MVP Summit. I think it was PASS. And this was 15 years ago, probably. And he lives in the Netherlands. And obviously, I live in California. But we talk to each other all the time. I've been to his house. He's been to my house. You make really good friends if you're willing to go talk to people. It is very, very doable and very, very easy to talk to any of the speakers that are there. They are all looking for people to talk to. So, events that are happening at the conference. So the first one is going to be the SQL Train. It's going to be the Sunday before the conference, leaving the Vancouver, Washington train station at 12:30 p.m., arriving in downtown Seattle about 5 p.m., barring Amtrak slowing the train down. Now, personally, I've never done the SQL Train, only because it hasn't lined up with my schedule of when I need to get there, when I'm trying to get there. Or I'm on a different train because I've taken the train to PASS before. Highly recommend that, by the way. If you've got 2 days to burn, hop on the train in Los Angeles and take it all the way north, and it ends in Seattle. It leaves LA at about 8 a.m. last I took it, and it gets to the Seattle station in the International District at, I believe, 9 p.m. the next day. So you basically get 38 hours on the train, I believe, if I'm doing the math right. Highly recommend it. It's loads of fun. So SQL Train, it's a little slice of that. Like I said, it takes the train from Vancouver, Washington, all the way up through the state and ends in Seattle. Go to the past website, go look at the community events. There's a link there so you can buy your train ticket and basically fly into Vancouver. Again, that is the Sunday before the conference. There is going to be a welcome reception Tuesday night at the conference from 6 to 8. That's going to be on the 5th floor of the Seattle Convention Center Summit building. So basically, where the conference is, go up to the 5th floor. Welcome reception, grab a beer, meet attendees, meet the speakers, have some nibbles, and then go grab something a little more mealy, and then crash for the night. On Wednesday night, there's going to be games night. This was as of yesterday listed as Tuesday on the website. It is not Tuesday. It is Wednesday. Redgate fixed this for me. From 8:15 p.m. to 11 p.m. up in the Summit Building 5th floor. They're going to have all sorts of board games out, so you can just go socialize with people and just go hang out with other attendees, play some games, have something to drink, and meet some more people. If you're one of those healthy people, I am not. You can see that if the camera was further back. There will be the past morning run Wednesday morning at 6 a.m. They are going to be meeting under the Seattle Convention Center arch. So that's going to be at 705 Pike Street. So the easiest way to find that is going to be find the Sheridan in Google Maps. It's going to be half a block or one block. How far? Yeah, the arch is about half a block up the hill from the Sheridan on Pike Street. That's going to be the easiest way to find that if you're not super familiar. So the past morning run is a bunch of people that have gotten together every year at PASS, and they go for a run around Seattle for an hour and a half and go check out some of the sites and do a quick running tour of the city, get some exercise in, and see the actual city. So there are some more events listed at that website below, pastdatacommunitysummit.com/sessions/events. So you can see what all is going to be going on and what all is available to you. And for some reason my computer decided that I triple clicked and I didn't. So some other stuff. So if you want to go to a pre-con, register for that in advance. That is going to be the only way to guarantee your seat in the room. As far as I know, pre-cons can be purchased on site, subject to availability. Pre-cons do sell out. The more popular speakers, they are going to sell out awfully fast. They may already be sold out. If they're sold out, they cannot get you in the room, as there are caps on the room as set by the almighty fire marshal. And the fire marshal has said that this room can only hold X number of people, and that is how many tickets they can sell. If they try to sell more tickets than that and the fire marshal finds out, the fire marshal could shut down the entire conference. So obviously they're not going to risk that just to put a couple of extra people in a conference room. Redgate does recommend that you set your schedule in advance once the schedule has been released. And again, that should be relatively soon. That way you can get to the sessions you're looking for and you know where you need to be throughout the week or throughout the 3-day conference. Keep in mind, regular sessions are first come, first serve. So there are no guaranteed seating. So just because you put in the app that you're going to go see the session does not mean you are guaranteed a room, or does not mean you're guaranteed a chair or a spot in the room. So they are first come, first serve. So in a lot of cases, get there early so that you can grab a seat, and that way, you've got somewhere to sit as the room fills. Some of the session rooms are going to get really full. The sessions are going to be stupid popular. Hopefully mine is. Hopefully y'all come and see it. If you don't, I won't be too offended, I promise. So, like I said earlier, PASS and the Convention Center, and I spelled the Convention Center wrong. I will fix that. Um, they have set up a discount program for the convention itself, and that's going to be available at that URL below. Since that is a rather long URL, there, now I spelled it correctly. I went ahead and threw that URL up in the Q&A. Hopefully you can see that. I will throw it in the chat as well. Ignore the text above it because that was just my notes. There we go. So there's a link to the to that URL. It's the same URL. It's just from my notes. So you can throw it in there and get that. So signing up for that discount card is free. So you should be able to just go and register for it and grab that. Oh, be aware the link right now is throwing WordPress errors. That's awesome. So try the link later. It's not hosted by me. It's hosted by the Seattle Convention Center. But so they will have that once that's fixed. They will have that discount program available for you. So that program gives you access to a whole bunch of restaurants. Some will give you free appetizers. Some are giving you a percentage off. I saw some places giving up to 20% off. I don't remember if they were restaurants or venues for like tourist stuff, but there are a lot of options available. Somebody in the chat said that Q&A is saying that it's not set up correctly, which is weird because there are questions in there. But if you're having problems with the Q&A, go through a question in the chat as well. Look, Windows, I don't need you to try to get me to change Windows again. So feel free to throw some questions in there. If you've got questions, feel free to ask them. I am more than happy to answer them. So let's see if we have anything else. I don't see anything so far. So feel free to ping me if you have questions or if anything comes up. You can either reach me by email, which is going to be Denny, DENNY, at dcac.com, or you can find the blog post where I was talking about the session and just throw a question in there in the comments. And I'm more than happy to answer it as soon as I see that come in. Keep in mind that I'm not always the fastest at responding to questions that come in via blog post comments. So email is probably going to be the best way to get a hold of me, but hey, you never know. So I'm not seeing any other questions or chats come in. So I'm just going to throw this up there. So thank you all very much for coming. I do appreciate it. If I don't see you beforehand, I know I'll be in Dallas at Data Saturday, this weekend, in like 3 days. I will see you at the PASS Summit. There are plenty of ways to get a hold of me. Basically on every social media is Mr. Denny. So Twitter, LinkedIn, or Facebook. You can hit me up on all those as Mr. Denny. Obviously, you can hit up the company as well. Our Twitter handle or our X handle is DCACCO. LinkedIn and Facebook would all be DCAC. Feel free to hit us up on all those medias. Like I said, if I don't see you beforehand, I will see you at the conference. Just checking for last comments. I don't see any in there. Paul, yes, I will see you at Data Saturday. So thanks all very much for coming. I appreciate it. And I will see you, everybody, hopefully at the summit in about a month and a half. Have a great rest of your week and have a great time until we get there.